yesterday evening, I saw Lisa Frankenstein, a totally delightful horror comedy that was directed by Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams, and written by Diablo Cody, who won the original screenplay Oscar for Juno and wrote cult classic Jennifer's Body. Everyone will love this, I said to myself, but exiting my screening, I was met with a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm not claiming this movie is perfect. It's not. We'll talk about that. But that score is a little extreme, in my opinion. To put it in perspective, I'm gonna flash some movies that have a higher critic score than this. All I'm saying is let's have some consistency here. But as many people are pointing out, Jennifer's Body suffered a similar response and is now beloved by many. So do critics just have it out for Diablo Cody? Will Lisa Frankenstein also be reclaimed in 10 years? Let's investigate. It's kind of interesting that this is coming out so close to Poor Things because both are variations on the Frankenstein story that are told from an explicitly female perspective. But Lisa Frankenstein is more of a take on takes. It will be mentioned a lot in relation to a lot of 80s movies, which is the intent. If I had to sum it up succinctly, I would say it's like the romance of Warm Bodies with the plot of Heathers and the tone of Death Becomes Her. Katherine Newton plays Lisa Swallows, an awkward social outcast who's just endured something very dark and traumatic, only to be uprooted mere months after to live with her new stepmother and stepsister. When the 1800s corpse, whose gravestone she's been visiting, is brought back from the dead, they embark on a murderous journey to find love, happiness, and a few missing body parts. So this is a full-blown horror rom-com, and maybe we should start with the elephant in the room, the PG-13 rating. An elephant that I actually didn't find was taking up too much of the room, and I was really nervous about this, not only after seeing people critique this movie for it, but also in the wake of this barrage of horror movies like Megan and more recently Night Swim that feel like they were intended to be rated R and were like neutered in the editing room so that they could sell it to a wider audience. But the execution here makes me feel like they knew this was going to be PG-13 going into it, and even that it was intended to be PG-13, which makes sense. It has very spunky YA Hot Topic vibes, but Zelda Williams definitely has a knack for still going there and carefully choosing what to show off screen. I mean, there's murder, there are precious appendages being cut off, there's sex, and you know what else is PG-13? Death Becomes Her, Weird Science, Edward Scissorhands, Warm Bodies. And we love those movies, so I don't think the rating here should be seen as an inherently bad thing, and I really didn't find it to be much of a limitation. And this is Zelda Williams' directorial debut, and I got so amped when she tweeted about some of those movies being inspirations for her, but also Day of the Dead. It might remind you of Twilight, Reanimator, Near Dark, Jennifer's Body, of course. It's a pure homage movie, which I will never have a problem with if it's executed well, and does still create its own identity in that blend. Don't kill me for this, but I actually think this movie does it better than Bottoms, but that's neither here nor there. But the results are totally electric. Like, the production design is maximalist and full of neon lights. There are posters all over her room of the creature from the Black Lagoon, A Trip to the Moon. It even has a couple of black and white scenes in the style of a silent film to represent the emotional implications of something. And the costume and makeup departments went absolutely God mode for this. All the stuff that she wears when she finally starts to come out of her shell and her makeup is just so spunky and fun. I mean, it just looks and feels like a real movie. I will say though, I think it's just something about the digital filmmaking when they do 80s movies like this now. It feels less magical when they aren't trying to achieve that film look in post-production because it just feels clean in comparison to those old nostalgic 80s films. Not really a critique, I just feel like there's a weird dissonance there that I think about sometimes. But it's cool that even as she gets older, Diablo Cody is creating these really free-flowing young adult stories that are fun and silly, but also unabashedly feminine. There are so many casual mentions of periods and contraceptives and vibrators, and I just love watching female characters who are loud and smart and break the rules. It's really unfortunate that Katherine Newton caught a lot of flack after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which, to be fair, she and everyone else were bad in that. But she's so great in roles like this. I mean, the Map of Tiny Perfect thing, she's so fun and freaky. Everyone talks about Jenna Ortega being the next Winona Ryder, which, yes, but Katherine Newton is also very much making her own space here, and I think she's really, really talented. It was also recently realized by society that Cole Sprouse is a shitty person, so for anyone who's worried about seeing him, the good news is that he doesn't speak. The creature is not able to speak, which means that this role relied entirely on presence and physicality, a lot of which was apparently crafted by Cole Sprouse himself. I guess he worked with a mime in Vancouver for 4 months. And for the look, Williams referenced Bub from Day of the Dead. I was definitely getting some Near Dark vibes, and it all comes together very nicely with a heavy assist from some amazing practical effects work, but also just the chemistry between the two leads. Once he arrives, she has someone to open up to who she doesn't feel judged by, and comments that she's talking more than she has in months, especially because for a while after what happened to her, she suffered from selective mutism. And then in return, she knows how to sew, so she attaches the body parts that they get, and he like heals in a magic tanning bed. It's very kooky and bizarre in like the best way. And I have to admit, it's very sweet. Like, I was giggling and kicking my feet a little bit by the end. Also, Carla Gugino is in this. I like had no idea, and when she popped up screen, I like practically cheered. She's such a badass, a true horror queen, and she really just bolsters the whole thing as this wicked stepmother that you love to hate. And Eliza Soberano, who I don't think I've seen before, plays her stepsister Taffy, who's definitely very much the shallow cheerleader type, but is also genuinely kind to Lisa, so it adds an interesting dynamic to their step-sibling relationship. And then her dad is just completely oblivious and emotionally absent. Fuck that guy. Sorry, Joe Crest. But even though I didn't find the PG-13 rating to be too much of a hindrance, I still think the biggest issue that this film has is studio influenced and happened in the editing room, especially in the setup. It felt like it got chopped down a bit, and there might have even been a scene or two missing. It's a bit sparse narratively, and in a way, because it's so fantastical, it kind of has the freedom to not tie up every loose end or explain everything, but it does result in some things not feeling super cohesive. And overall, it's very funny, but it's not like the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life, and it's more of a silly rom-com than something that's profound. Not that that's an issue, and I don't think that anyone is gonna really be denying any of these things. It's more just about how distracting it is to you personally. And I think most audiences will enjoy this. I don't think it's gonna have to be reclaimed in 10 years, but Diablo Cody does have a very particular oddball sense of humor and cadence that I guess critics just don't vibe with for whatever reason. And in terms of all the movies that this will be compared to, is Zelda Williams Tim Burton? No. Is she Karen Kusama, who directed Jennifer's Body? No, but that's also not a fair comparison. This is a really promising directorial debut from someone who clearly has a very particular taste and style, and I'm very excited to see Williams refine it and grow. I'll always take another female director coming onto the scene like this. And I just had a grand old time watching this movie, so I'm going to give Lisa Frankenstein a nice, healthy 3.5 out of 5 stars. At times, I really was like, damn, I might give this a 4, and I think I would have if it had really nailed the ending, but the ending was fine. Endings are important, man. But anyways, those are my thoughts on Lisa Frankenstein. I honestly do really recommend seeing this in theaters, and I think with the lineup we have for Valentine's Day, this is by far the best option. I'm making assumptions here, but they're educated assumptions. So let me know if you plan on seeing it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.